welcome to this week's Unpacked episode with me, Sarah Nelia Mabuku, on Kumwesu. Today I'm joined by a very familiar face that most of us grew up to seeing, watching and hearing, a familiar voice we grew up listening to on TV. I'll allow him to introduce himself. Sir, welcome to Unpacked.
Thanks a lot. Master Chimbala is my name.
Sure, welcome. So today we're simply talking about the big tobacco and tiny target. What is this research all about?
Right, so we're digging deep into seeing how the tobacco industry, meaning basically the very companies that produce tobacco and distribute tobacco, sell tobacco, benefit from tobacco, and get rich from tobacco while killing people, are doing in terms of how they are marketing, promoting, advertising, and displaying their produce or products, especially and particularly to vulnerable groups such as the young ones, and these are children, adolescents, and youths. And this is from the backdrop that our society is under a lot of problems from the tobacco businesses, specifically on consumption. If you target young people to consume tobacco, then you're already leading the entire generation of now and the next and so forth into a permanent turmoil and punishment and death because of that. And so protecting young people, such as children and adolescents, insists that we need to check, are we guarding the lives of the young people well and correctly in the face where there's aggressive, notorious forms of marketing of tobacco products by the tobacco industry. So the big tobacco, particularly those words, imply these big companies that run these furiously huge campaigns and marketing activities. And then tiny targets, the last part of that research study, is talking about the young targets, the targets of young people, small people, children and teenagers and so forth. So that's the foundation. So this is what was being pursued, and the reason for this research is to inform our decision making as a society in terms of Zambia, even if it's being done by an independent agency, which is an expert agency. But the key thing is that this thing can inform decision making as a nation, whether it's advocates like ourselves who push for tobacco control and public health, or maybe it's other decision makers above who decide the fate of this society.
All right. I understand that the Master Chimbala Foundation was among the three institutions that were researching, doing this research. And according to the research being done in almost all schools, there was a point where tobacco was being sold. And why do you think the industry, the tobacco industry, is targeting young people?
Because you cannot initiate an adult into consuming tobacco. In normal or most cases, human behavior will have been formed by the person being 25, 27, 30 years old. It is when somebody is much younger that they can modify their behavior, such as becoming a consumer of tobacco. And that is what has perpetually been their behavior and strategy in running their affairs in terms of the tobacco industry. And that is about marketing the products to young people, so that while they are growing and cementing their characters, this becomes part of their lives. When they have habits being formed, it's part of their lives. When their behaviors are being formed, this is part of their lives. So that's the picture where we are today.
All right. Since the research was done in community setups, what are the communities themselves, the parents, the church, saying about this issue?
So from the research perspective, it's a silent research. It's called observational research or study, and that means simply observing. And the things you observe is you don't need a conversation to see billboards of tobacco, posters of tobacco, buy one get one free type of promotions of tobacco, or the way that these things are displayed. So the critical behaviors that determine the behavior of young people to be led towards tobacco are visible by observation. So the study in itself did not engage or involve any conversation except observation, right? But through other media and mechanisms of our outreaches of advocacy, in speaking and chatting with communities in terms of teachers or the church leaders, community leaders, parents, families, youth themselves. The voice is very unanimous in terms of, number one, the understanding and acceptance that tobacco is deadly. And secondly, the understanding that more needs to be done in terms of protecting vulnerable groups, such as young ones. Thirdly, acknowledging that the tobacco industry goes to extreme measures to allow and target the vulnerable people, such as children and adolescents and teenagers and youths, to become perpetual consumers of tobacco.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for some time now, we know that there've been advocacy for the enactment of the tobacco control bill. For how long have you been pushing for this bill to be enacted, and what are some of the challenges that have been faced in the process?
Zambia signed up to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, the WHO FCTC, in May of 2008. That counts already 17 years, this year 2025. And in that period of time, there has been a lot of back and forth. The greatest challenge is the tobacco industry interfering in the legislation process. And that means this government of Zambia has permitted the tobacco industry to be recognized as a stakeholder in the fight for tobacco control, which means you are bringing a culprit or perpetrator in a process where they feel they will lose if people smoke less. Can you imagine? Yes, because our achievement is that people smoke less. And then they say, no, we need more people to smoke. So don't stop the advertisement. Can you imagine? And we're not just talking about smoking for everybody. We're talking about young people because we know they're the ones that are being targeted. And research has told us already that the Global Tobacco Youth Survey shows that 13 to 15 years old children, 40% of them have already consumed some form of tobacco, are into tobacco already. And many of them started at the age of 7, of course, So those statistics are the basis for us to say, we need legislation. Why would we give unnecessary, endless, open check to anybody to just do whatever they want when the evidence shows that children are vulnerable? And that's why we're pushing this fight. So it is their interference through deception and lies to our governments or our leaders, ministers even, being lied to about the economic relevance and power of tobacco, lying that it will kill the industry of tobacco, which it won't, because it doesn't talk about agriculture, it doesn't talk about export and distribution. The most deceptive statement in their behavior in the tobacco industry is when they insist to say, oh, you know what, in fact, for us, we export 93% or is it 95% of tobacco. So if you export that much, this thing has nothing to do with the export. It's talking about consumption of children. Why is it messing you up so much? So these people are greedy. They'll do anything, no matter how many people die, as long as they make profit. This is not me talking. It is them in what they've done. I mean, hundreds of the whole world. It's the same companies. They're not new, fresh companies in other countries. No. The companies that are here are the same ones that are in every country. The worst thing is that Zambia is failing to enact this law, and it says something about what our leaders think about the value of a Zambian life. Because 41 countries in the rest of Africa have already done this. So the question is, what's wrong with us here? And the bigger question and better one is, who is it that is being paid for the Zambians to die? Somebody's benefiting. Who is defending the killer, the murderer, while people are dying? Who is it that is being paid so that we keep dying? It's a very good question to ask.
Yeah, why have we not done it? Yes. Since this bill is centered on health, what is the Ministry of Health doing about it?
So the Ministry of Health's responsibility is to be the sponsors of the bill, which means the authors in terms of being the owners in terms of the ones in whom the stakes are most pivotal in the bill. And what they do, how they do it, is their responsibility in ensuring that this bill goes through in the manner it should be, in compliance with best practices drawn from several countries around the world, right? And in doing that procedure, their key role is to do that. But for Ministry of Health to succeed, they need other people to support and agree. And when I say other people, I'm talking about other cabinet ministries and ministers, right? Because it hinges on other ministries such as commerce, agriculture, finance, and others. The way that cabinet deals with the legislation is that they'll look at a bill. Is it on automobile, vehicles? Okay, bring in technology, bring in commerce, there's business there. By youth, maybe they deal with mamotoka. So when they create that group of ministries that are affected by that bill, that becomes some form of subcommittee, right? And they're the ones who sit. So if others there have got vested interest in tobacco, or for some reason they don't believe that Zambia should protect its people, they will defend, in this case, the industry and say, it's fine, let's die, but these rules let's not do them. So that's part of the challenge that exists. So the Ministry of Health has been pushing this agenda for a while. The hope is that they can do more to make this work for Mother Zambia.
Okay. All right. So I understand this is not one man's fight. How best can we, the citizens, come on board to make sure that this bill is being enacted?
Yeah, brilliant question. Everybody has power to do something about this legislation. Number one, make sure that you understand this bill enough to defend it, to promote it. Number two, those of you on social media, post about it. Number three, ask your leaders, councillors, members of parliament, even ministers, in your individual capacity. Mushtapochani palinkanya fwaka ipaya abantu over 7,000 every year. And Zambia loses over 2.8 billion. Mushtapochani, ask them that and be able to share. Every day you can tweet and you can share stories. And you can also go to people who are consuming and say, and so forth, to lead towards transformation. All right? But also, if you are a leader in church or any other place, go for it and push for change that is needed. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
This has been Unpacked with me, Sarah, on Kumweso. I was joined by the CEO and founder of Master Chimbala Foundation, Master Chimbala himself. Till next time, be sure to watch Kumweso.